This video is sponsored by the Design Mechanism, the makers of Mythras. Mythras is a registered trademark of the Design Mechanism Inc., used with permission. All rights reserved. Well, hang on, because we're live now. So if you could just sort of like stop talking about they were talking about their prostitutes. I don't know what it actually is. Bonsoir, everybody from Marky Mark.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir, bon nuit to you as well. I hope everybody is looking good and feeling super duper fine. Yes, a bit of an interesting session that it's going to be tonight, because the party managed to return back to Lindowe at the end of last week after I think it was 11 sessions.
It was a lifetime, really.
Yeah, so they have a huge amount of experience roles to actually utilize this week. So the first part of the session, or until we get to the end of it, is really going to be looking at how they're going to use those roles to get all those out the way, to see how long they're actually going to take to do that, and then actually maybe, just maybe, start the next adventure, of which I've made some changes to, which I will tell you all about shortly. But first of all, I'm going to allow the players an opportunity for them to tell you who they are and who they will be playing or doing their experience roles for, so I can make sure that the levels are correct for the recording, etc. So without further ado, I'll pass on to the usual person that goes first, and I will get his character up.
Have you got him up?
He's up now, yes.
Hi guys, I'm Chuggerwugger. I play Gulliver, the youngest member of this motley crew. He is a sorcerer, or an apprentice sorcerer anyway. He's very low in the ranks of the order. His particular order is that of the Kraken, the Blue Order, the order that specializes in spells involving around communication, transportation, and teleportation. He can adapt his spells to suit his needs, altering the range, the power, i.e. the magnitude of them, the number of targets that they can affect. And he does this by expending points in shaping. He also has the ability through the shaping to combine several spells into a single casting, although this does increase the difficulty levels of the spells. Because he's an apprentice, he hasn't really had the chance to do that. But hopefully, as his spells increase, the number that he has, he should be able to start doing that. He also has some lower level spells based on the folk magic school in Mythras. He refers to them as cantrips. Very fast casting. They only take a single combat turn to cast, and but they're not as powerful as his sorcerer spells. And I shall pass on. Who wants to go next? Who fancies going next?
Hello, everybody. I'm Medivac, and I play Hasra Khan. He's a nomad. He's the group's scout, tracker, forager, combat person, DPS. He favours a scimitar and a short spear. He likes to go out foraging for food for the group. He does like to throw himself into harm's way when protecting people like Bartleby. He knows that Hengist can protect himself, and Gulliver as well, if Gulliver got in the way. But the thing he likes Gulliver, but the thing he doesn't like about Gulliver is the fact that Gulliver teleported him, which kind of he doesn't like one bit. He moved him from over here to over here. Like, he can ride. He can drive a cart of sorts. He's an excellent navigator. He's taken the party through many a wondrous tracking experience. And yes, he's recently joined a brotherhood which keeps tabs on what's happening in the world, such as the difference in nature, and trying to maintain a balance between good and evil, and the way things are changing in the world. Also keeping a record of how things are changing. So these things are kept for generations, times gone past. And that's it, really. With that, I shall pass that on to the next person.
Which I guess is going to be me. I'm Mr. Pickles, and I play the character Bartleby Fumus. He is our resident theist, serving Amriel, the light moon goddess. He's able to exhort powers through her, like healing wounds, ridding disease and plague, all sorts of things, but also being able to channel energy into people so that they could walk up a lengthy mountain without perspiring a bit. He has some folk magic spells, which he references as quick minor prayers, which are less powerful than miracles. And in those, he has healing, energy, ability to see things through Amriel, the witch sight folk magic spell. Bartleby is also an ex-entertainer who is very fascinated by monsters, and unfortunately his hands got all busted up, and now he's in the priesthood, returning to Lindowe to further his devotion to his goddess and see where things will go with a certain noblewoman. And on that weird note, I'm going to pass on to Longshanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pickles. Hi guys, I'm Longshanks CPG, and as normal, I play Hengist. He is the group's warrior, clad in heavy iron armor, which is beautifully embossed into like a dark green, and he's got his family crest on there because he's a noble from another land. Come over to try and hopefully track his sister down, who's been kidnapped, and has also managed to meet up with this group and is currently on the quest to stop various things happening and gain chalices and stop evil chaos creatures taking over the world and all that sort of stuff. He fights with a sword and shield, tries his utmost to protect those members of the party and any other sort of innocents, and stands as by that are in the area, or if the situation calls for it, he'd put his life on the line to do so. And I will pass it on to inwils.
Muted. Sorry. Yeah. Hi. Yeah. So the party have been following a very involved and complicated plot line over the past 11 sessions, and it was getting to the point that it was such involved that people were getting, including myself, confused what was going where, who was doing what, and why we were actually doing it. So what I've decided to do, and I've communicated this to the players, we're going to make things shorter and to the point for the quest for a few sessions. So normally the adventures, rather than taking about 11 sessions, they're going to only last about 3 or 4 sessions. I must say that I was talking about it in the stream. I always think that the sessions, the content I have, is only going to last 2 or 3 sessions, and it ends up lasting about 10. But I've really sort of like narrowed it down, so there's limited plot lines now. It's very much sort of like, here's A, get to B, and that's what goes, what the adventure is all about. This also allows the players to develop their own characters. So rather than me as the GM putting things into the game to develop them, now what I'm going to do is take the lead from them. And so if there's anything that they want to develop, I'll see it coming out in their role playing or how they're developing their character, rather than me sort of like putting in a whole load of stories to try to tempt them away. So it's more of a going from towards more of a co-creation of the world, and placing the character's development firmly in the player's hands, rather than me suggesting ways that they can go to. Now, the party have come back to Lindowe, which is their base town. It's a town that's on the southeastern coast of the continent of Oder. So we're not going to be leaving that place, but there's going to be various storylines that are going to be brought to an end. And a lot of these have died a death in any case, so there won't be, I'm not going to physically bring them to an end. I'm just going to leave them, and we can move on from there. And then, so today, the characters are going, or the players are going to spend their experience points, experience rolls. Now, just so you know, an experience roll, they get between 2 and 4 per session. And so generally I'm now going to give them the experience rolls at the end of every session rather than saving them up. Anybody who's continually training a skill that they already have can actually use those 2 experience rolls, or 1 experience rolls in the case of Hengist, who gets 1 less because of his stats. I think it's probably his charisma that's low, or intelligence. Maybe. Yeah. So what happens there is that if they're sort of like, for example, if a character has a combat skill, then at the end of the adventure, or the end of the session, or the beginning of the next session, then they can naturally improve that. They don't need to spend X amount of weeks to actually do it. So hopefully it'll mean that you'll see characters developing session on session. The other thing that is important is that if players would like to learn any new skills, then that has to be done in an actual town. So it has to be done in Lindowe. It can't be done anywhere else. And they cost a certain amount of experience rolls. Generally skills, a new skill costs 3 experience rolls. Folk magic, if they want to learn a new spell, folk magic also costs 3 experience rolls, while Gulliver's sorcery spells and Bartleby's theism spells, they cost 5 experience rolls to get. There's also some time element. So what I'll be doing as the characters or the players increase their expertise of their characters, I'll be sort of like taking a note of how long has actually passed. And this is important for 2 things. The first thing, which is the very important bit, is that they have to pay for lifestyle costs. Now, as I mentioned in the post that I sent out to the players, Gulliver and Bartleby actually live in almost like a church and the order's house. So because they're actually members of that order, then they actually live there. Hasra and Hengist don't, so they actually live in a normal inn, etc., etc. So, and that's all sort of like dictated by their social class, which players would have chosen right there at the beginning, as they started to advance their characters right at the beginning of creation. The other thing that I did float to them to this week was also the fact that they are able to gain some kind of income. The game assumes that they are not constantly adventuring, and so what will happen during this time that they're actually in the town, or if they have hirelings that are working for them, then they can get that income even when they're out adventuring, etc. But of course that requires a certain amount of money and to be put into it. Again, that is taken into account with the actual social class that they're at, and it's up to the players whether or not they would like to invest money or skill rolls in crafting or skills that could make them more money, and then that's up to them. So for example, somebody could quite happily put money into farming and get a plot of land and actually set themselves up in a farm that will actually give them an income month on month that they're either away or within the town. So there's lots to get through. The only other thing that I have to say at this point is that if the characters have any fumbles, if they've ever scored 99 or 100, then they tick their character sheet, and that means that they get a fumble, which means that the skill automatically increases. Now, the important thing about this is that I don't think we roll for how much it increases. Don't
you just get 1% on the fumble?
1%. That's what I was thinking. So I think I'm quite happy for you all to just sort of like look at that and just report it back to me when it gets around to your character, so you can sort of like say, oh yeah, I had fumbles in so and so. Remember, you can use the same roll for the same skill over and over and over if you can do that. If you are learning a new skill, then it is up to you to tell me who's teaching you that skill, and if there's no person to naturally teach you, then there will be a cost involved for you to get that training. Now, talking about costs, I think was it 8,000 silver pieces you got?
It was, yes.
8,000 between you all. So hopefully somebody has divvied that up. Was there any other money that you got from the last adventures?
I think what we need to take into account for the last adventure, once we get back to Norport, we will have we're going to have to look at how much it's going to be to Hasra will probably sort it, because you hired the cart from the woman and the mule. So if we're not returning them, that she's going to have to be compensated for.
She will have to. But I was, when we left, it was quite a hasty exit. I was hoping that the cart and horse was still in the ruins where we had the last battle.
No, that we actually, I think somebody actually asked me that.
We covered that.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
We went there.
Yeah, and it wasn't there. So that can quite easily just be removed from people's allowances, whether or not you want to put. I don't know how you wish to do your money, whether or not you're just dividing it each out between each of you, or whether or not you're going to keep a certain amount together, as not literally, but you almost like as a central bank. You know, so if anything needs to be paid for, it can be paid out of that amount first, or whether or not you're going to do it. What do players feel about that? How are you going to sort out your money?
I mean, it's always been a case that we've handled things separately, unless there's something big to pay for, and in which case Gulliver's ended up paying for it. Okay.
So are you dividing the 8,000?
I think what we do. I think by the time we've purchased we've replaced the horse and the cart and made sure that she's compensated for her time and effort.
Okay.
I think what we'll probably be looking at, a total of about 500 silver pieces coming off our budget.
Okay, that's
which will leave us with sort of like 1,875 silver pieces per person for the payment from.
Okay then. So if you sort of like take off the wagon cost and the mule cost and anything in it, does Bartleby or Gulliver, because I know you have commerce skills, do you want to roll that when you're replacing when you're buying the new wagon and the mule, and see whether or not you can get it for a cheaper price?
Gulliver probably won't be doing any type of haggling when he's in Norport, purely because of the state that he would have been in. But there is some haggling that I want to do later on when it comes to my bit for advancement and skill rolls. Please.
Okay then, so we'll take it that you've paid off the woman, you've put some money aside to live in Norport until the portal was opened again, and then you would have used the portal to come back into Lindowe, and then spend some time recovering, and then spending your experience rolls. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to keep a check on how long. Okay, so I just need to know if you're sort of like learning. When it gets to you need to sort of like do your skills. You need to tell me what you fumbled in, and then just increase those by 1. Increase those by 1 before you start doing experience rolls. And then remember, when you do your experience roll, and you might want to get something set up in the roller straight away, you roll a 1d100 and you add your intelligence score to it, and then if it's equal or greater to your skill, then your skill increases by 1d4 plus 1. Okay, if it's less than your current skill level, then your skill still improves. It just improves by 1%. So so you might want to sort of like get that sorted as we go along. As I come to you, if there's things that I need to think about or alter, then I'll just sort of like I'll just jot it down and then come back to you as I'm listening to everybody else's. So let's start with Hasra then. Let's start with Hasra, and let's think about what Hasra is going to be doing. First of all, what fumbles do you have, Hasra?
Fumble-wise, I only have the 1, which is surprising, and that is my tracking fumble.
Okay then, so that will increase by 1%. So how many skill rolls do you have?
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 15 skill rolls.
But you may have more than that. We got 27 last adventure.
Yes, I'm saving some for. To be fair, it's going to be 16 skill rolls, but I'm saving some for learning new skills.
So you've got how many skill rolls do you have in total to thing? Is it 29 including
27 we were given?
Okay, yeah. 27. Okay then, so go for it. How are you spending your 27 skill rolls?
Right, my first one is my evade. I really do need to move about more, so I'm going to put 1 in that.
Okay then, so roll a 1d100. What's your intelligence?
My intelligence is 12, and my evade at the moment is 28.
28, cool.
Sorry.
Yeah, you need to roll a 1d100, not a 1d.
Sorry, my apologies.
Hasra's just rolling a 1d20.
And then going, failed. So here we go, plus 12. That's better. So you want a 1d4 now.
1d4 plus 1.
Which
Oh,
is
5 points. Excellent. So that your evade will go up by 5 points. So that's one skill roll.
Yeah.
What else?
So I now have 2 willpower ones I want to do.
Okay.
Because he's improving his willpower because he wants to have a stronger mind to be able to protect himself against anything that physically attacks his head, such as Gulliver.
What is your willpower?
My willpower is only 17.
It's 17.
So that's 1.
So 1d4 plus 1.
Which is 5 again.
5 again. And then...
The second willpower.
Yeah.
Oh, 24. Yes, I've still done that.
Okay.
So 1d4 plus 5, which gives me a 5 again in my life. Those d4s love me.
So what's your total willpower now?
My total willpower will be 5 plus 5 will be 27.
Yeah, 27. Right. Oh, sorry. What I was just thinking about doing is that I'm just going to switch to the big skill roll. And then what I can do is call up your character sheets as well. I'm just thinking for people to see what they're, for people who are watching. Otherwise, they're just watching like a blank thing. So once it's opened, you guys can sort of like move it about, but then it'll be sort of like big on the screen for people.
Do you want me to update my sheet live? Because at the moment I'm just writing down my ads on paper.
Yeah, if you update it, or I can look at it. So yeah, you can update it as you go along. So that's 1 evade and 2 willpower.
Yep, the next one will be ride.
Okay.
Just by 1. So my ride at the moment is 43.
43 then.
Yep, so that's that one. And 1d4 plus 1 is 3. So my ride's going to go by 4.
By 4%. Yeah, so that'll go up to 47.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Plus. And then the next one will be athletics.
Okay.
Which is something he uses a lot. Athletics around 63. Oh, that's going to be a 57, which is not. That's a fail. So that's going to go by plus 1.
Hang on a minute. Sorry.
You've already got the 12 added on, mate.
The 12's already on.
So that's still less than your 63.
It is, yeah.
That'd be a 1d4 plus 1.
Yeah.
No, it'd be a 1. Oh.
No, it's a 1.
Because it's got to be
a fail.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, just 1%. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So next one is cooking. My cooking at the moment is 36. So that's a positive. So that goes up by 2.
Cool. So what was that? Cooking?
That's cooking, yeah. Endurance is going to be 1. My endurance at the moment is 71. So we did a good roll here. Oh, yes, so my endurance is a positive.
Yeah.
So 1d4 plus 1 is 5 of my endurance. Let's put that in that box there for now. Okay, my next one is first aid, which I've used quite a bit in this adventure, which is 47 at the moment.
47, yeah.
And 14, so that's a fail, so that's going by a plus 1.
Just go up by 1.
And put that in that box. And the next one is perception. Okay. Again, a major skill for my character.
Yeah, so that's 70 at the moment.
102. That's quite impressive.
So that'll go up by
2.
Yeah.
Perception. Next one is my combat skill, my nomadic fighting skill, which is 76 at the moment.
76, yeah.
Oh, which is just going to go up by what?
That'll go up by 1, yeah. There's 77.
Where's the button for that? Okay. And the next one is my tracking, which is at the moment 73 at the moment.
73.
Thanks to my fumble. So 23, so that's going to go by 1.
That'll go up by 1, yeah.
Survival.
Okay, which is 64.
4. No,
1.
just missed it, yes.
just missed it. 49.
Well, oh yeah, I've only got 12 already, haven't I?
It's very close, very close.
And my guaranteed winner is my drive, which I'm going to do by 1. 74.
And that'll go up by
3
points, yeah.
Right, drive is there. Then we have influence, which I tried to use this adventure and failed miserably. My influence is 15.
Yeah, because you're not actually trained in that at all. Right? Yeah.
No, it's something that I feel like I used it to try to negotiate or order some guys around, and they just went no. So I've learned from that. 91 with a +4.
Yeah, that'll be because because it's really interesting, and I'm just saying this to everybody, where people sort of like channel their points in, because influence is a charisma. It's double charisma. So anybody with a low charisma is always going to be worse at it than somebody with a high charisma, no matter what. And I think that's why a lot of skills are connected to important stats. And so it's whether or not you sort of like think, right, I'm never going to be any good at that, or invest points to try to be better at it. But in the long run, you'll have to invest more points in it to get to a high level than somebody who's already got double charisma. I think it's double charisma, is it?
It is double charisma.
Yeah. So people like Hasra and Hengist.
Hengist is very awful at charisma.
Yes. And so that's something to like your character. That's your flaw, isn't it? Your low ability scores, or characteristic scores as they're called, that's just sort of like your flaw in your character. Yeah.
Exactly.
And how many have you spent so far?
I'm down to the last 2 now, so I've got locale.
Okay.
Which my locale at the moment is 56.
56.
So that is, oh no, failed. That's +1.
So that's just +1, yeah.
Locale. Pop you there. The last one is customs, which is 64.
Yeah. I don't think you've used customs at all, ever.
No, I did very early on. That's a +1, by the way. And I can't remember what it was for. It was it's some no. It's when we met nomads, I think.
Oh right.
Yeah, the barbarians. Sorry.
So brilliant.
Right, so that's those. That's 16 points spent there.
Okay.
What I was looking to learn, 3 things. I was going to learn law. I was going to go to the law master of the Brotherhood and spend some time doing law nature and learn as much about the nature and how it affects us and through his teachings. I was also hoping that he would teach me some literacy there as well. So this is going to take 3 months, I'm assuming. So I'm just to learn a bit of literacy, so I could, rather than having to go back, I could. Well, if I come across something in the wilderness that I can't read, it'd be nice to be able to try and to understand it.
I don't think you're going to come across something in the wilderness.
Any sort of old buildings, or I could write a letter, or be able to perhaps hopefully draw something at one point, or write notes back to the Brotherhood.
Yeah, so
brief, scratched in a crawly way, and it's just something.
Yeah, I mean if that's where you want to take your character, then that's absolutely fine.
I was going to say, I do think it's something that Hasra would learn at some point, be able to write, even if just a briefest message down, just something to put on paper, and yeah.
Yeah, and like I've always said, it's not a case of justifying anything, because anybody can justify anything. I'm just saying, if you're taking Hasra to more of a rather than taking him to almost like a specialized area, you started to spread your skills across a wider area to sort of like become more of a single operative, rather than sort of like focusing. So things like in the group, things like literacy, that was always sort of like Gulliver and Bartleby had. Now you've got that as well, so it makes it sort of like everybody sort of like all getting, well, at the moment everybody's all sort of like getting the same skills rather than increasing in different areas. And similarly with your willpower and things like that, sort of like averaging out across to become more of a all-rounder rather than a specialist. So your literacy skill will start off as double your intelligence, and your law skill, which would be law nature, will also start off as double your intelligence. So those skills come into professional skills. So you just need to add those there. And then, so how long will that take you?
Well, in the book it says a month per skill.
Okay, so we're looking at 2 months.
2 months there. Now the third one was going to tie into what I would like to do in the downtime, which would be to I'm looking at buying, or either buying a little hut in the forest, like a little hunting hut. Yeah, even if it's just 4 walls and a roof. And then using that as a base to go out trapping animals and taking them to sell or to trade for other services and goods. So with that, I was looking at taking commerce. And to be honest, inwils, I couldn't think of anybody to teach me commerce. So I was a bit at a loss with that. The only person was
reaction there.
But
so hang on a minute.
Bartleby will be able to teach me a bit of commerce, just basically bartering.
Yeah, well, bartering will. Commerce is more about evaluating goods, and what exactly are you buying and selling?
Like rabbits. I'll be selling rabbits and fur and.
Okay, so I think that if you want to take a commerce skill, then it needs to be more specialized at this point. Right. Because the generic commerce skill can do so. People like Bartleby and Gulliver, who have the skill already, they do anything that they want, because they got it at character creation. Yours is going to be very specific. How does that link to your income? Just so you know, what social class is?
I'm nomadic, so I live out in the wilderness, which is why I was looking at getting a little hut in the middle of the forest.
You're probably a freeman then. And which basically means that your typical home is a hut or a cabin. So and then that's roughly about 15 silver pieces per week. So that sort of like goes into your lifestyle costs. So
I was actually looking at buying a place rather than renting it, if there's anywhere out there, because I could buy a hovel. Is it for 1 second?
Sorry, I can't hear. That is, it's either a hut, cabin, or a rented room. So that sort of like takes everything into account. So as long as you've got the money to keep up that upkeep, then that's it. What I don't understand, sorry, is why a commerce skill is going to be your income. That's what.
That's purely for when I'm doing my downtime. I would be out hunting all the time.
Which would be your survival skill.
But then I need to sell it to make money.
Right, and that's well, don't you? Sorry, I'm just checking the actual commerce skill, what it actually covers. Let me just see, because you do have. I thought that it went down into influence if it wasn't.
Rather than being commerce because of his social class, would it not more be of the haggling skill, which is basically the more primitive form of when you're dealing with people who.
God, so that's what I was looking for. Actually, I didn't realize it was a haggling skill.
Yeah, but instead of using commerce, it's done via the influence and willpower rolls.
That's what I was thinking. That commerce is a lot.
Page 56 of the rules. It is.
Yeah. So it's that's what I was thinking about, in the sense that if you want to haggle, you haggle with influence, don't you, and willpower.
It's influence against their commerce, and then it's willpower against.
Yeah.
Because anything like that's done on 2 rolls. There's getting the upper hand to begin with, which is the first roll, and then after that you do another roll, which is then governs the number of successes that you get. And the greater the difficulties, the greater the things between the two, is how much more or less you gain as a percentage.
So generally, then,
for example, if Hasra was to gain the advantage, and then got, say, 3 difficulty levels in his success against the purchaser, then he would get 200% of the actual price that he wanted for his rabbit.
Correct. So that goes off influence then.
Yeah. So it's basically you have the main role. So it's insight and customs to get the advantage.
Yeah.
So it uses insight to get the advantage, and then after that, it's done either influence and commerce against willpower or commerce.
Right. So I think we got several choices here, and you can therefore either put your points into insight and influence, or I mean the thing is, this is still going intelligence and charisma, so Hasra is sort of like moving away from sort of like the physical sort of like side of skills, more into the intellectual side of skills. And or alternatively, you can take you can still have your commerce, but it will be in we'll just put animal skins and things like that. And say, for example, you were haggling against a merchant who had full commerce, then they will actually, your role would be harder compared to theirs, because they have the professional skills. So you can either pop it into insight and influence, or get commerce, or maybe call it haggling, and in brackets make it quite specific.
No, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll think on that, but I'll stop there. I've spent 22 points there so far, which carries over the 5.
Right. So are you're just leaving that 5 to
I'll leave that
adventure then?
Yes, and I'll think about the commerce side of things.
Okay, brilliant.
But in his downtime, he will be hunting for rabbits and things and trying to make
So therefore, we got 2 months tops at the moment. So now let's come to Bartleby. Let's come across to Mr. Bartleby and see what Bartleby is doing. I'm just bringing your sheet up, Mr. Pickles. So if you see it moving around a bit, it's
understood. I'm posting in the Roll20 chat my little table of contents. What I don't know why that came out as 3.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
This is the battle plan for what I'd like to do, and if you want to
nice.
say yay or nay to those spells. It's 1 miracle, 2 folk prayers, and folk prayers take a week to learn.
No, I've got it here. Yeah, folk magic takes 1 week, while everything else takes a month. So you're going to have. You're not learning any new skills. Is that correct?
No new skills. I'm just working on things, getting devoted to Amriel, and my basic idea was that I'd be spending most of my time in town, working in the church, healing the sick in the impoverished areas, and then playing music at night.
Yeah. So you're focusing on making Bartleby better at what he does, rather than taking on other things. Nice. So let's start. So I can see that you're focusing on devotion, folk magic, exhort, endurance, and willpower. So just so people know, within every order, there's certain skills that religious order to do with theists. There's certain skills that Bartleby has to have up above a particular percentile score before he can move on to the next rank. He's currently an initiate in the order of Amriel, and what will happen once he's throughout a certain period of time, and if he gets the skills above a certain amount, then he can then become an acolyte, and then he gets access to higher level spells that he can actually call down. Of course, the spells that or the miracles, which are what his theist spells are called, they can only certain orders give you certain spells. So it's not like D&D, unless normally you can cast anything, but in Mythras it's a lot more restricted. The same thing happens to Gulliver as well. So let's focus therefore, and I think endurance is one of your
definitely.
Which is the one that you've been working to get up. I think you got to get them above 70% now for the next level.
Yep. I started at like 20 or something.
So that's it. So let's start therefore. Let's go down in the order that they appeared in the chat. So first up is devotion, and we're going to do 4 rolls of that. So currently your devotion is not on that skill. I
do have a few fumbles though, really quick. I have insight, perception, and I think folk magic. So I'm just gonna change those up real quick.
I didn't realize that you have a minus D2 damage modifier.
Yeah, it's a little embarrassing. I didn't want the rest of the group to know.
Fantastic.
Okay, almost there. Magic. Let's see. Yeah, it was folk magic that I had to fumble in. Let's bring that
well
up.
Done.
Thank you. Pretty good failure. And here is, so my intelligence is a 14. So here's the D100 plus 14.
And your devotion is currently 63.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. So let's do four of those rolls. So that's a good start. So that's all 1d4 plus 1.
Me a 3.
So that's now 66. So if you roll it again.
I'm just updating it really quick.
Yeah, that's
66. All right. And then we got here.
Oh, wow. Another one.
Doing good. Here's my D4 plus 1. Bring it up to 2.
So that would be 68. We might actually hit 70 here.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be cool if I do. This is the 3rd roll. No success. But I still get 1 point.
Yeah, so
right?
that's 69. So you're going to reach 70 no matter what in this skill.
Oh, yeah. That's beautiful. All right, let's hit it. Okay,
just 70. Now, does that increase your... No, it doesn't increase your intensity and magnitude, isn't it? Because it's rounded up.
Yeah.
So
almost there.
I think once you get 71... I think your intensity and magnitude might actually increase. I'm not too sure about that. Marky Mark says, too bad, Bartleby. But no.
Well, I could just test that out right now. Let's temporarily put it up. Yep.
Yeah.
Once I hit that 71, then I get an A.
So intensity is the special effect in the spell. The magnitude is what I use to try to dispel it. So, for example, if I want to dispel a miracle that's cast at magnitude of 7, I need to get higher than that to wipe it out. You can adjust both of those as you see fit. I think, Gulliver, you have to pay shaping points to increase magnitude, or is it?
Yeah. So my a sorcerer's base magnitude is 1.
Yes.
Means that the intensity determines how powerful his spell is.
Yes, that's
as
right.
in how much damage it does. The magnitude is how easy it is to dispel. So it's okay if you're not coming up against somebody who, if you're going up against a wolf, you know that it's not going to be dispelling your spell, so you don't need to change the magnitude. But if you're across a magic user,
a sorcerer,
dispel your magic, then yes, the magnitude is something that you have to expend points on shaping to alter.
Brilliant. So so that's your devotion done. So the next 3 points, shall we do exhort while we're in? Oh, we can do folk magic. Let's do folk magic while we're
can do all of those here.
Yes, while we're still there. So folk magic is currently 61, and we're going to have 3 rolls in it. So you're looking at 61 or higher.
Big money. Oh no.
No. So that'll take it up to 62.
2 and second roll out of 3. Inching my way up to success.
That'll take it up to 63.
And then my last folk magic roll. Excellent.
So that'll take it up to 6. Well, no, with that, I think that reflects nicely on Bartleby, because obviously, Amriel is focusing you more. Your devotion to your religious order is getting stronger, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I'm feverish with devotion now.
Yeah, so and I think that could be sort of like mapped out, during the past sessions, that you're becoming more and more sort of like dedicated to your goddess, and the way, obviously, you've been pleasing her in many different ways, Now, your exhort, how many we got in there? 3 in exhort.
Yes.
So that's your skill roll that you do to actually cast a spell.
The miracles,
a
at
miracle.
least.
Yeah, so it's 63. So hopefully we can get some increases on this one, because this one's
my exhort's a 60.
Yeah, sorry, 60. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we're all safe. This is the first one. Yeah.
Yes. So 1d4 plus 1.
4.
64 straight away.
Excellent.
So this is how the dice are sort of like playing out. It is really interesting. So you got another exhaust, so you're looking at 64 or higher.
Just a 1.
Just a 1.
Bring me to 65.
65, and then one last roll.
No.
No. Okay then, so that's 66. But I think this really reflects Bartleby, in the sense that his devotion to his goddess has really increased. And I think what you need to do now is try to channel that into, the actual incantations to actually cast the spells. Brilliant. So on to skills. Endurance then. So this is one of your skills that you have to get up. So it's currently 50, which just brings you into initiate. So you need 50 or above for your endurance.
And I think this one and the next willpower really probably tests that Bartleby had to do to get the following spells and miracles.
Yeah. So is that your first one? You're 29, or is that left over from the last one? I think that's the last one. No, I could just see 29. Have you rolled for your endurance?
I haven't rolled for endurance.
No,
Yeah, okay. So this is first endurance. Aha.
Yes. So 1d4, that goes up.
Up on a mountaintop, being shivering, surviving for my goddess.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
55. 55's the number to beat. Haha.
That's another nice one.
That's both rolls for my endurance. That brings it up to 59. 59.
59.
Wow, 9 points.
That is pretty good going.
Getting buff.
Yeah.
Willpower is the other, the next two. This is the first for willpower. My willpower is a 29.
Oh, yes. That goes up by one. Oh, yeah.
I'm not much of a coward anymore.
No.
34, and this is my last roll for willpower. I beat it, so D4
Yes.
plus 4. Oh my gosh.
We
Power.
were just discussing exhort, what exhort actually means, and we're just saying translate it to Dutch, and from it I could read it means something like getting someone to do something. But I think I looked at the actual meaning of exhort is strongly encourage or urge someone to do something. So I think it's quite interesting that your exhort skill is actually urging your goddess to perform a miracle.
I always imagined I was begging my goddess to intervene with me.
So that's sort of like the direct translation of exhort, which is really good. So obviously your willpower, and you've been very steadfast, and I think it reflects your devotion as well. This idea that they're going together. Brilliant. Okay, then I'm just scrolling up and down in the
Last two skills.
Right. So that's all your skills done.
But I have 2 points in musicianship. This is the
Oh
last
yes,
one.
musician. Now that
So I
was
was playing at the taverns at night to make a little bit of coin after I've been
and
duty.
you are currently at 29.
My poor mangled hands. This is the first for the 29.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
your strumming is going along nicely. So that's
Master musician.
Yeah, 33.
3, and then the last roll, beating 33, I do.
Yeah, another one, Dave.
Just
Just the 2, which is nice. So, and I think that's something that you can bring in a little bit more now. As you're getting better, maybe by strumming along, you're getting your feelings back into your hands. You're trying to recreate muscle memory, etc., and then making slowly being able to hold a tune again, or strum a tune. Right. So we've got some spells, haven't we?
Yes, I had 2 folk magic spells I wanted, and then 1 miracle.
So Spirit Shield, I can see completely. I think this is something that you've actually wanted for some time.
Yes.
Because of, I think it was way back when you actually got attacked by a haunt outside of Farmers. I don't know if people remember it, but it was when you were on your way to Eubin's Falls. And that when you were made to relive. So I can see that one completely. Tell me about shock.
My idea was, because Bartleby has a lot of energy-based prayers, like vigor to reduce a level of fatigue, and he has perseverance as a miracle to make it so somebody can't take levels of fatigue for hours. And I was thinking with shock that it would be requesting his goddess Amriel to judge a target, whether they are worthy of the energy given by the gods, and then if they're judged unworthy by her, does the shock stun one random location?
Oh, I see. So if they are not worthy, i.e. your role succeeds, then the shock... How do you see the shock spell?
It did say that it always is accompanied with a loud, cracking noise, and I thought it would be like sort of some stormy weather up ahead, or in the distance, kind of a booming noise. Something very obvious that something's happening, or maybe superstitious people might look at it as, it's definitely.
And I think for me, this is an interesting diversion, if I may say that, because that there's two moon goddess, a god and a goddess, and this almost sounds to be more sort of like Maroth's sort of thing. I'm quite happy for you to have it. The other interesting thing is that it's ranged.
Yes.
Which the majority of your spells actually require touch. So this would be an interesting one, and how it actually it manifests itself in the game. And what I'll be interested to see is how it's actually played out actually in the game, and whether or not you suddenly feel I'm not going to use it, or whether or not there's going to be that judgment of, and whether or not do certain things require judgment and others do not. Okay then, so those are each take you a week to learn, won't they? Which you can learn from your order. And then you've got
Decided on shield.
Shield for 5 points. So tell me what shield does, because you have
I have Aegis, and that's different. I think we've touched on it before. Bartleby doesn't see himself always as worthy of Amriel saving him or intervening, because she's intervened before when he got his hands mangled by bandits.
Yeah.
And this would be, I imagine Bartleby would be spending a lot of time up on nearby mountains or areas meditating with willpower and trying to withstand the elements for his goddess and trying to prove his worth, and learning this miracle might be just that.
Right.
It's a spell that only ever affects the caster, I think.
It does,
and it has your intensity or your magnitude as armor that is hit first, regardless. It's before any other armor gets hit.
Yeah, so it goes back to that intensity of the spell. So each point of intensity grants the recipient 1 armor point to all hit locations. So I probably see it almost as if Amriel's glory, her light, almost like envelops you, you know, in somebody, or you're bathed in moonlight, you know.
Yes.
And I think it'd be really interesting that we sort of like think about that, because I'm always really interested about how spells will impact on the game, in the sense that shield, it doesn't say that there's any light assigned to it. But if we sort of like saying, oh yes, you're bathed in Amriel's glory, then, you know, you're almost like going to become a beacon, you know. And I quite like that way of thinking about spells, and not just taking them, not using them as just using them as a basis to actually put some characterization onto it, to make it something more like what you Amriel would actually provide for you. I think it's a really interesting spell, and you also have protection as well, so it's almost like an upgrade of that as well. So I think that's a really nice spell. Yeah. So, and is that the only spell that the only miracle that you were going to go for?
Correct.
Yeah. Great. So therefore, the miracle will be a month. And so I think Hasra was out for 2 months. So we're looking at 2 months as the top at the moment. So anything else that you would like to do or create at the moment?
I guess the only money-making activity that Bartleby would be doing, since he's probably not getting paid for his priest duties, he gets paid in lodging and food, I guess, is playing music at the taverns at night, and yeah, I've spent all 27 of my rolls.
That's interesting. Would he play for what? That's what I was just thinking, in the sense that if the church provides everything for you.
Oh, well, for the entertainment of the people. And if they throw coins at me, I'm not going to
Oh my God, yes. Oh, I see what you mean. So it's not a matter of going to the Hairy Hobgoblin and going up to, I forget what the tavern called.
Hairy Hobgoblin was the one I remember.
Yeah, but what's the owner called?
Basil the Earless or something like that.
Oh, Basil, yeah.
Basil.
It's not a sense that Basil will hire you and give you a fixed amount. It's just what will be tossed to you, you know, maybe the odd silver piece or a bit of scrap of bread and things like that. Then what you decide to do with that income would be completely up to you. Very nice. So I can see where Bartleby is moving to. He's obviously becoming a lot more religious, a lot more devoted to his goddess. His spell casting is becoming stronger. You've got the shield that sort of like mirrors your protection element. But I will be interested how this shock manifests itself. That's what is rumbling around in my mind, and especially your folk magic didn't go up all that much, so it'll be interesting. So yeah, so don't forget to copy everything into your spell list for that, so it'll come up on this screen. Okay. Absolutely. Then brilliant, making some good progress so far. So yeah, let's go to Hengist then. Let's call Hengist up. So and then just before you start Hengist, Gulliver, I know there's still you. I'll keep an eye on the time, and if we're getting close, you say whether or not you...
I have to talk really fast.
No, well, what I was saying is that we can take the early break there, or we can go right the way through yours and then take a break. It would be completely up to you how you want to play it. Okay. So yeah, Hengist. So what are you planning? What do you have in store for Hengist?
Right. Well, Hengist had a couple of points, XP points left over from the mission before this one. So we had 2. We then got 17 he got 17 from the adventure, and everyone else got loads because -1 XP modifier.
Yeah.
And then there was it 2? Yeah, but I can't remember where, but it works out at about 20 XP rolls. He had 2 fumbles. He had a fumble in brawn, so I'll just stick that one.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's not.
And a fumble in perception, it looks.
And a fumble in perception, so I'll stick those on. 642 to make that brawn 69, and then perception 19 to make a nice rounded 35 on perception.
Cool.
So he is very much going down the line of he's beefing up his combat abilities.
Okay.
So he's going to be doing,
which seems logical because that's
what
essentially what you're involved in. Yeah, that's his job, and he's already got quite a impressive.
He's got some beefy stats hidden away there.
Which is interesting. So so how many did you say? You got 20, did you say?
So I've got 20 XP rolls. He's using all of them. He's not learning a new skill at this point.
Nice.
I'm going to, I've allowed myself, he's going to focus on his main combat style, which is Housecarl. So I'm going to put 4 points into that, or if I hit 90, I'll stop at 90 before then.
Okay, then.
Depending on how the dice rolls.
Okay, then. So what's your intelligence?
Intelligence is 11. So it's averagely intelligent.
Yeah, your charisma. I've just seen your charisma.
Charisma is 4. Power isn't 5. Which is where he gets his -1.
Yes.
Okay, so he'll do his first one. So his current combat skill is 82.
82.
So I've got 84 more.
Yeah. So we hope for some. So that'd take it up to 83.
And then he'll do second roll.
No, 84. It's slowly just.
It's going to slowly creep. 85.
And this is what happens. The higher you get.
86.
That should be your 4 rolls. Yeah, so the higher your skills get, the slower it's going to slow down. However, unless you have a whop-off intelligence, because therefore that really sort of like impacts positive on your roll. So yeah, so that's 4.
That's the 4. So that's fine.
Okay then.
His next ones, he's gonna so like if people are as astute and the party are astute as they're meanderings through Lindowe over the next few months, they'll see Hengist doing lots of running around in full heavy armor because he's building up his endurance.
Okay then, how many rolls on your endurance?
He's doing 4 again.
4 again. So we're starting
endurance is 67.
Yeah, because they've moved endurance, haven't they? From up. It's still in your standard skill, but it's also up in your combat skills now.
Yeah, and I keep trying to press. I keep almost pressing that, and then I don't want to spam you full of endurance rolls. So
yeah.
Just keep. So I've got it open now.
Yeah, so it's 67 at the moment.
So that's 1 point.
1
so
point.
That's 68.
68.
69.
69. Poor Hengist.
Oh! Let's just drop down to 69 somewhere. So then I want to do a 1d4
+1
plus 1. So that's 4 points.
4 points. Nice.
So that's 73. So then I've got one more on my endurance to go. Oh no, wrong dice. Sorry. Bear with. Reroll. There we go. And that's 1 point.
1 point.
So that's 74 on his endurance.
Yeah, nice.
I've got to do more mental maths. So it was. I'll come back to that because I'm going to be a few minutes working out what I need to add to that to make that 73. So that's those two. He's then going to put a couple of points in brawn.
Okay, so currently at 69.
He's currently at 69. So that's 70.
70, nice.
The last one in brawn. So that's 71.
71.
That's endurance.
So that's nice. So a lot of your what I call secondary combat skills are sort of like increasing. There's actually, just for people who are watching, there's sort of like 4 skills that actually blend into the combat as well as combat style. There's brawn, which is all about lifting heavy stuff. Endurance is how long you can fight and resist from. Evade's getting out the way of things, and then
which Hengist doesn't do.
Yeah, and willpower is more your mental capacity. So people like Gulliver and Bartleby will naturally have a high willpower because of the characteristics that they use, while they probably have lower brawn and endurance. Apart from Bartleby, who's had to work on endurance in his priesthood. So yeah,
right. He's still got a few points left.
Yeah.
So he's going to work on his secondary combat stuff at the moment because there has been many situations in the past where he's found himself without a sword, like last session, or he's found himself having to fight differently. So he's going to put he's going to put 3 points into his unarmed skill.
Nice.
Because that's always useful to have.
I think that's always nice to whack somebody with a gauntlet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's been situations where he's had to parry with his forearms and all sorts of getting
nice
fisticuffs and things in the past. So it's always useful to work on that when he has time. So that's rolling a 1d100 plus 11, and his current skill, is a 34.
So that's so that's 1d4 plus 1.
So that's 3.
So that's 37.
There we go. So then he'll then roll again on that one. Just making it by a couple of points.
Yeah.
So rolling 1d4 for another 2.
So that's 39 now, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, getting there. And then the last one in unarmed. Nope, not making it.
So that'll take it up to 40.
40, appeasing my mild OCD. Yeah. Oh, no, that's not right. That's not right. What did I do there? I'll fix that in a second. So that's around 40. I'll fix that in a moment. It's not actually 68. Ignore that. He's then going to put... So let's cross that one off my list. He's then going to put a couple of skill rolls into his secondary combat skill, which is in fighting with two-handed sword.
Okay.
And he hasn't done for a while, but he has had to do in the past.
So that's a total of 41 at the moment.
It is currently 41. So that's a 97.
So that's 1d4 plus 1.
That's a whopping 5.
So that's 46.
So that's 18 in the XP roll. There we go. You'll now put another one in there again.
Yeah.
And then roll
1d4 plus 1.
And that's another whopping 5.
So that'd be 23 in the...
Thank you.
Yeah.
Not 123. There we go. And then you'll put one more in that one.
Okay, so 51 or above you need.
Nope.
So that'll go to 52.
which is not half bad. So that's it for his main combat skills.
Okay.
He's got 4 points left over, I believe. 4 rolls left over, I believe.
Okay.
So now he's going to work on his law, strategy, and tactics, because
Okay.
that can be quite useful.
So
for
that's
seeing.
currently at 47.
It is currently at 47.
Yeah.
That's one of his professional skills.
Yes, 1d4.
That most definitely does do it.
So obviously some valuable lessons learnt.
Yeah.
Well, not that valuable, but yes.
There were a few in that last big battle that were
so,
so he's going to put one more skill roll into that one.
So that's currently 49, isn't it?
It is, yes. That's a nice easy peasy one.
Yeah. So that's
So that's
1d4 plus 1 again.
a nice 3 points in there.
Brilliant. So that'll be 52, won't it?
Yeah. And then for the last 2 points, as always, Hengist never not put something in perception,
Okay.
because he's not being the blind one of the party anymore.
I think,
And it's also important for the watches. This is what
Yeah.
I think. Hengist,
because I never
realized he wants to protect the party by not being ambushed at night.
I never realised until the last adventure that Bartleby actually has a lower perception
It's
than
been sneaking
Hengist.
up. Hengist's perception has been sneaking up since the beginning, when Longshanks realised perception is actually really important in the game.
Okay,
Right,
so
he's gonna
it's
pass
currently
two skill rolls in
35,
there.
so 2 skill rolls going into this.
Yes,
Yep, so that'd be 1d4 plus 1.
that's a nice 4 points.
Yeah, so I go up to 23 new experience.
Thank you. So it's now at 39, so his last experience roll.
Oh, no, 39 is.
That's good.
Yeah, it's
Right
the
on,
skill
right
or
on.
higher, so that's still 1d4 plus 1.
And I thought there was going to be a 4 then for a moment.
No, so that'll be 25 in the roll, which will take it to 41.
There we go. And I'll just amend those other ones whilst
Yeah.
you're doing the work.
Cool. Brilliant. So
very
that's Hengist all done. So Hengist is basically improving his combat, how tough he is, but also looking at his perception. So, like you say, keeps watch at the night. You know, so he
And
becomes
looking up for ambushes in the
and he's learned from the combat situations that have gone before, where mistakes might have been made, to try to bring that round.
Yeah.
Okay then. So Gulliver, we're coming to you next. Now it's 18.
Let's go for it. Let's go.
Let's go for it then.
Go.
Go.
Oh,
So
yes,
let me
Gulliver
just.
had 27 rolls. He also had 3 left over from a previous adventure. So, yes, he is starting off with 30
Nice.
rolls. And I'm going to put them all into drive. No, I'm not. Because I can't do drive. So I would like to learn a new skill. The skill that I want to learn is being taught by one of the librarians in the order of the Kraken's library.
Have you already put it on your couch sheet?
Yes.
Okay.
An elderly lady known as Maud. Everybody refers, especially the apprentices, refer to her as Mother Maud, purely because she calls everybody child constantly. You can imagine she's even older than Master Healy. She's one of these sort of like withered.
Can I just say, did you look up runology? How to spell it?
Yes.
Yeah. Because
I had the E in to begin with, and then realised that it didn't have it.
Yeah, well, I just did a quick Google search, since everybody keeps saying that everything's on Google.
Yes.
I wonder, computer, what's the study of runes called?
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Oh, the computer's thick.
She's a retard. So anyway, Maud
Yeah.
has 2 loves in life. The first one is runes, or the study of runes, runology, and the second love in her life is a certain pickled fish that comes from the harbour in Lindowe. As you can probably imagine, my skill is not going to be in the production of a pickled fish. it is going to be in runology.
Okay, then.
Runes is something that's always interested Gulliver. He finds it absolutely amazing that, you know, people can communicate with pictures. And although he's literate, you know, taught to him by Master Healy, there's been various occasions that, you know, runes, especially on the mosaic and in the temples, that runes have been important. And
you've certainly encountered a lot of runes over this adventure,
and I've always tried to bring it from that Gulliver. You know, he's always tried to write them down. He has several parchments of the runes that were in what were they called? The guardians of the seeds.
Yeah, in this the sanctuary of the Templars, there were sort of like runes on the or sigils on the actual pillars. Yeah, right from back there.
So his choice would go for something like lore, you know, LORE rather than LAW, or I thought literacy, you know, sort of like understanding what they actually said, or almost like, you know, being able to look at several runes together and sort of like say, you know, the entrance to the door is northwest.
Okay,
you know,
so
and almost like reading the runes themselves.
So, and this is something that you might want to think of. The difference I see between those two skills, lore runes and literacy runes, the first one is the actual being able to write it, and you both would allow you to read it, you know, but literacy runology would actually allow you to transcribe the runes as well. And this is, you don't need to think about this now, but obviously runes change throughout time. You know, is this a modern set of runes? Do you see it as a current set of runes, or do you see it that these are the runes that were around a long time ago that people have stopped using because in the places you've encountered them are not in the normal everyday?
I would have said that the runes, the way of communicating with the runes is going back centuries, and like probably Maud probably can remember actually writing them, and she's that old, and that's why Gulliver's had to go to somebody who's a lot older and who has, you know,
that's
interest in it.
How are you spelling Maud, by the way?
MAUD.
No E on the end.
No E. Oh no.
That would just be too extravagant. That.
Well, yeah.
Have an E on the end.
That would be just using letters just for the hell of it.
Okay. So that would be 3.
Is it for 3 or is it 5 for a new skill?
Hang on, I've got it. I want to say. This costs 3 experience rolls plus whatever in-game costs are required.
Okay.
So that's 3. So the only things that cost 5 are higher level spells.
Yeah. So as well as sort of like having it teaching from somebody within the order, Gulliver will probably have helped out in the library. You know, sort of like stacking the books that people have written.
Did you have any fumbles, by the way?
No.
Okay. Cool.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So what?
The other thing to take into account is that Gulliver's downtime, as far as injuries is going to go, because he did take a nasty
yes
to his right leg.
You came round the corner and got blasted from a sorcerer, which gave you a major wound. How do you see that impacting on Gulliver in the future?
I mean, the attack on Gulliver was a magical attack. It wasn't a sword or an arrow in the leg that could be that could be sewn up and would gradually heal. Even Bartleby, although people managed to stabilize Gulliver, his journey, the actual healing that they tried to do in his leg, whether or not it was to do with the magic that was used, because it was a dark magic.
Yeah, it's very well. It was almost like the opposite of yours.
It was something that Gulliver's never experienced before, and really doesn't want to experience again. It's left him scarred in more ways than one. He didn't recover from it.
Okay.
His right leg is he walks with a limp.
Right.
His right leg is it was touch and go at times whether or not it would actually have to be.
It's a good job that Bartleby was there to stabilize it. Yeah, because otherwise you might have lost it. You might have been one-legged Gulliver.
Yeah, he walks with a limp. Exactly how it affects the game. There's several ways that it will affect him. Making any type of athletics check will be a lot more difficult for Gulliver now.
So rather than being a standard check, a standard difficulty, it would be no matter what, it would increase by one level of difficulty. Yeah. Okay then.
He can run, but he can't cover the same amount of distance that he used to be able to cover. I mean, he used to run around the streets when he is still young, but he used to run around the streets, but he can't run round as fast as he used to. So his movement rate, rather than his run rate, rather than being triple of what it is normally for your walk, is only double.
Right, got you. So you'll make those adjustments.
17 meters. You can't actually adjust these on the characters on your character sheets because of the
because it's related to a stat. Yeah.
So so rather than being able to run 17 meters per turn now, I mean he can manage 12.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, sprinting is just out of the question for him. It's something that he can't do.
So it might actually impact on other skills, which you can query. Yeah, and you can query it in the game whether or not it could or shouldn't, or maybe say to me, what is the difficult, because I think it should be one level more difficult for Gulliver, rather than me imposing on it. It'd be a lot easier if you impose it, and then we can see the impact it has. Okay then, so he's got his leg, he's learnt runology. What else?
Okay, so there's a few spells that I want to use. There's a couple of cantrips
to learn. Sorry.
Yes, that I want to learn.
Okay, so let me just get my sheet up.
That I want to learn, and these are purely based on.
Don't say it's shock.
Purely based on what areas that Gulliver thought that we were lacking in.
Okay, then.
The first one is alarm.
Do you want to know that is spooky, because when you said things that you were lacking in, I thought the alarm's the first one in the document, but I suddenly thought, that would be useful, Yeah.
So alarm actually allows him to set aside an area that if anything crosses it, he gets notified, and even if he's asleep, he's woken up. I see it as him almost like. When he casts the spell, he almost like walks around the area, and as he walks, he leaves sort of like footprints of water.
Interesting, yeah.
Sort of like done the area. They glow slightly and then sort of like disappear.
I was just wondering, and you don't need to decide about this now. I didn't know whether or not you were going to link it to your runology. In the sense of part of your runology has been that spell, so you actually trace with water, say, or with spit or something, the rune for alarm.
Urine.
Say again, sorry?
Urine, I could go back. Stand aside! Coming through! Yes. The other one is knock.
Oh, let me just... Does that open doors?
So it magically unfastens any device that is secured mechanically, not
not magically.
And
the other thing that I just wanted to say about alarm, it has a special duration, doesn't it? Because
yes, it's all triggered.
Yeah, you cast the magic point into it, but you get it back. It lasts until trigger, but the magic points used to cast it does not recover. Does not recover until the spell is dismissed. So if you've got an alarm somewhere and you've got a total of 10 magic points and you use one up, even if you're down at 9, even if you have a whole night's rest, it's still at 9, isn't it? Until you actually dismiss it. And once you dismissed it, then the thing. So that I think that's a really interesting thing. There could be lots brought out of that.
There's several sort of like scenarios that I thought of when taking it. One was the camp at night. Secondly, things like when we're going down a corridor or something, or we've entered the building, or we know that there's guard patrols. It could be cast, and anyway, so that's
so I think it's really important for you to decide how you cast it, and how it's linked to it, because I think that could, because I know you're interested in runes full stop, so this might be something that's all right, links to it. Yeah, okay then. And knock magically unfastens any device. Yeah, and the spell can only affect a single fastening, so if there's several locks and bars securing the object, the spell will need... Oh, that's an interesting one. Yeah. And it's touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's...
So again, I mean, Gulliver classes these folk magic spells as more cantrips, so it's not going to be anything, powerful, but...
Yeah, and again, what if you decide to do some of them as runes, then on your spell sheet that we've got up at the moment, just afterwards, so if you decide alarm's going to be a rune spell, then you could just put alarm, then in brackets just put rune, so we know. And the same with knock, if you want to link it to what you're actually doing, then that's absolutely fine. And I think I agree with you, there's several times that both of them, and it also brings into an area that's not covered at the moment. I don't think anybody else covers that apart from perception.
I mean the other way would be to have something like lock picking, which it's not.
Yeah, but that's why I say nobody has lock picking, don't they? I tell you who did have it. When Flat Battery played, his character had it.
Oh yes, the one with the throwing daggers.
Yeah, and he also had a special effect of flurry as well. So yeah, okay.
So that's 6 points used up there.
Yeah.
Okay. He also wants to learn 2 new sorcery.
Ooh. So just for people who are watching the stream, so just as Bartleby casts miracles from his goddess. Gulliver's a sorcerer, so he casts spells. And just so you know, sorcery is probably, even though it might not seem it at times, sorcery is definitely the most powerful area of spells around, which is the one that you wouldn't actually cast. Oh yes, diminish characteristic, isn't it? And you could diminish characteristics, but if you use it, is it Constitution?
Yeah, I mean you can reduce. I mean you can only reduce them to 1. I mean there's certain, even though they're known, there's certain spells that are even banned. in the to be used.
Yeah, because
And
if Constitution falls to 0 for any reason, the character dies. Full stop. And just to let you know, in Mythras, there's nothing like, there's luck rolls that you might be able to prevent, but there's nothing like, what do you call it in D&D? Wait, you know when you die and you just keep rolling a dice for X amount of time?
Death roll.
Are they death rolls?
Death roll. Yeah. It's against your whatever it is, but yeah, you've got to get a certain thing to not die.
Yeah, and you have sort of like X amount of times. Yeah, so brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, one of the spells that's banned by the Order of the Kraken is to transmogrify.
Oh right.
To water.
Yes, because you could.
Because it means instant death.
Yeah, so you could actually change somebody to water.
Yeah. And they have an endurance saving throw, and if they were to fail that endurance saving throw, they are dead.
Then that's it.
But it's banned. You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to. So the first spell that Gulliver is looking to take is telepathy.
Nice. So is it telepathy or perceive?
No, telepathy is the first one that he's looking for.
I'm just getting.
And he's basing this choice on a couple of things. The first thing is we've always had difficulty communicating with the orders, or when we needed the portal open, etc. Although Gulliver might not be powerful enough at the moment to do it, in the future. With enough points of shaping behind it. For example, if he, when he expends points of shaping, one of the things that he can actually change is the range.
Yes.
So at the maximum, he will be able to do sort of like 150 kilometers in range if he puts enough points of shaping in it.
Got you.
So it might allow communication over distance.
Yeah.
So that's what he's.
Reminds me of the Champions. Do you remember the Champions? Does anybody remember the Champions?
Yes, that's 60s.
Yeah, there was two guys and a woman, and all of a sudden they would go hello, like that, and they could actually telepathy between them, and it was. But every time they sort of like changed the voices, so I went, Kirk. So like, there's just sort of echo that they were actually going, we are the champion. No. I'm going to, so that's interesting. I need to look. It's interesting that it says, without the need for shared language or even species.
Which brings it to the other reason, and Gulliver's main reason for wanting to take it.
Yeah.
Talk to animals.
Yeah, because what you will do is almost like give them a feeling, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you use, what's your intensity?
Well, his standard intensity goes off at 9.
Yeah, so double 9, 18 would be anybody with intelligence higher than 18.
Yeah.
You won't be able to affect. That's correct, isn't it? Yeah.
But Gulliver's always had a.
Oh, you're like Mr. Spock.
Yeah, he always likes to think he's had an understanding with animals, and between me and you, he's just been lucky on his dice rolls so far.
Oh yeah, because he did a wonderful ride or something.
Yeah, when he's managed to get Whippet going, or when he's managed to get the horse and cart off the road when it had been attacked when we first.
So the people resist via willpower, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the spell also grants the ability to experience memory if the target is willing to share it. So if they fail their willpower, I need to just think about that. Because it's not referring to their willpower, isn't it? I'm just talking about the memory, not the actual communication. You can't sort of like go backwards. Was it Carrot who did that in a Shadowrun adventure? Started to mess about with people's.
Yeah, he was doing. he was doing a part of the magic that was it was considered. He was making people do stuff.
Yeah, and it's
He did
interesting.
it once, didn't like what he did, and then tried to cover it up, and that went very
That's
bad
right.
for
Yeah.
him because he accidentally killed someone point blank and murdered him. So yeah,
I remember that now. It's somewhere in a suite somewhere that got attacked by a helicopter.
yes.
It's noticed that you can cast it on multiple targets, which is all to do with your shaping, isn't it? The
Yeah.
sorcerer can decide if everyone connected via telepathy can communicate freely, or whether he acts as a hub for numerous private links. So what?
I kind of considered it, especially the animal aspect of it, was almost like using it and coming to an understanding with the animal that might give me certain advantages for skill rolls. Almost like, for example, if it was a horse, me making a telepathic link with it and almost like promising certain things in exchange for other things, so I promise to make sure
I don't think the word promise would come into it.
But
I think you might show a horse an apple.
Yes, but that would be it,
Yeah, it's and then so it's interesting that you can actually communicate with the party as well. Which is something. Okay then. Well, so telepathy's your first one, so that'll be 5 points in a month, won't it?
So my next one is project sense.
Oh yeah.
And I want to do project sense sight. To be honest with you, this again is one of the spells that will be getting improved via the combine ability.
Yeah, so this is almost like clairvoyance, isn't it?
Yeah.
So just so you know, when you were down in the temple of the Chaos Mother, the scholar was using project sense to see where you were, and that's how they managed to avoid you and actually get out. And I had to be really careful when Bartleby was using which sight to look for the magic, So it's project sense, but you have to specify the sense, don't you?
Yeah. So at the moment, it's sight. I can see as Gulliver gets more powerful, then he'll combine that with project sense, and he'll go for hearing. Yeah. And then he will also go for there's a perceive certain things, and he can actually grant himself things like dark sight.
Nice. Yeah.
And I can see it will be one of these things that it will start off. It will be limited, because if he tries to project his sense, his sight into a darkened room, it's not going to be. He's not going to see anything.
Yeah.
But then, as he gains in power and he's able to combine various aspects of other spells together, he'll be able to project his vision, be able to see in the dark, but also be able to hear.
Nice.
And even going down the route of, he can then also combine that with.
That's exactly what I was saying. So he's got project sight. He could then learn project sound, couldn't he?
Yeah. Well, project scent. The other one would be coming. It would be more like a phantasm.
Yeah. And then cast them together.
Yes.
Because you have that ability to do it. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So by using the actual to see where he's casting the spell, that then allows him to cast the next spell, because he's actually there.
Yeah, I'll need to. I'm not completely aware of that spell, so I will definitely have a look at it. 10 times your intensity in kilometers, isn't it, per hour? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anything else that Gulliver's going to be doing?
Well, so those are his main spells that he wants to do. So I think what I've got there, I've got two sorcery spells, so that's 10.
Yeah.
I've got 2 folk magic spells, so that's 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's 16, and then I've got a new skill, so that's 19 in total.
Okay.
That leaves me with 11 skill points.
Yeah.
I wanted to do my skill points bit by bit, and the reason I wanted to start off with that was because, to begin with, my sorcery skill is fairly. Can I scroll down for my sorcery skill so I can see it? Doing it. Yeah, so my sorcery skill is 83.
Which is quite high, yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to start putting points into it, but I didn't want to say I want to put 2 in, because I want to get it to a certain level, if you see what I mean.
No, that's fine. I'm quite happy for people to do that.
So from what my understanding, I've got 11 points left.
Okay.
And my sorcery skill is currently 83.
Your invocation, yeah.
14. Yeah, my invocation is so my intelligence is 14. So I'm going to start putting points into my invocation to begin with.
Okay. Nice.
Okay,
so that's 1d4 plus 1 straight away. So that's 4 points. So that's 87.
And that leaves me with 10. So my next one again is still going into invocation.
So now it's at 8. Oh no.
So that's going to be putting it to 88.
88 now.
So again, I'm going to be doing invocation.
89. That's 3 rolls so far. Oh, 1d4 plus 1. This is roll 4. 89. 92. So that is massive now. That means your intensity will go up to 10, won't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's very nice. 92. Are you putting any more in?
I want to put a couple of points into shaping, which you can see on the same thing. It's currently at 59.
Yeah.
I've got 7 points remaining.
Yeah, that's right.
So the first one, I should have put it into sorcery.
You should have put it into sorcery.
So
that's
59.
So that's 64.
Okay, and then so that's basically put my shaping up, because it's given me an extra point of shaping because it's rounded.
Yeah.
It's rounded up. I want to put another point into shaping.
Okay, so this will be roll 6. Nice. So 1d4 plus 1. 3. So that would be what, 66?
67 now.
67.
Okay, I want to put another point into shaping. I've got 5 rolls left.
So that would be 68.
8. Another point in shaping.
69.
Got a 3. I'm definitely going to get the next thing, aren't I?
69. Yeah, so it's 70 now, and you've got 2 rolls left.
Yeah. So one of the other things that I'm putting one of my roles into it, and it's not something that Gulliver's is really taken up or has used before. I think the last time he used it was on the boat.
Okay.
When the captain wanted jobs for everybody, and being pretty young and not knowing anything to do, Gulliver said that he would keep the crew entertained by playing his flute.
Oh, Bartleby and Gulliver can go.
And it was probably one evening when Bartleby had stopped by to see how Gulliver was, and
okay then. So musicianship is currently 37.
He mentioned that he was playing in the tavern, and Gulliver mentioned that he too had a. We should have got Hengist taking dance. Yeah.
You can make a troupe up. It would be cool.
I can make rabbit puppets to dance.
Yeah.
and just point out, Hengist's dance is pretty good. It's 19.
Yeah. It's something that he really used to like doing with Handy Jack. That's one of the ways.
Okay then. So 37 is the roll.
So 37, and that's the
Yeah,
roll.
so that means that you got one more roll left, 1d4 plus 1, 2, so that'll go up to 39.
Okay, and his last roll, the thing that he wants to put it in is I'm gonna do one more in shaping.
Okay.
And it's purely for the to give me an extra point because it's currently at 70.
Yeah, so 71 up it, yeah.
71 will up it to 8 points.
So it's
rather than
70 at the
7.
moment, yeah.
Yeah. So it's 70 at the moment. So it'll go up to 71.
No matter what, but
Yeah. But even that 1 point gives him the facility to
increase your maximum shaping points, etc.
yeah. Which is now, so if I change my shaping, it will go up to
It's 71 now, so you need to add 11 and 12 to it.
12.
Yeah, I think.
Look what you've done.
No,
there.
you didn't add 12 to your experience sheet. You changed it to 12.
So 42.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, so his maximum shaping has gone up to 8,
Yeah.
which just basically allows him to alter the some more of his
Brilliant.
There was certain other things that he wanted to do. He did come back with some other artifacts from the temple, which he did want to.
Okay, then let's come back to that because we're way past the 10:30.
Past our bedtime.
No, and I need to go to the bathroom, and so let's leave it there. We'll take a quick 10-minute break, then we'll come back and finish off Gulliver, and then we'll go straight into the next session. Okay, so guys, if you're watching us now, then we're going to take a quick 10-minute break, and then we will be back. So please don't go away. me on and them on. Okay then, so yeah, welcome back everyone. Hope you got your coffee. We're coming back to Gulliver just to finish off. You finish off what you were going to do. There was something else, Gulliver, I think you wanted to do.
Yeah, so Gulliver came back from the last series of adventures with a with several items that he had acquired.
Oh yes, I remember.
The first one were the two daggers which he had named.
Correct. Yeah.
But he's not the fighter type. He has a knife with him, which, I mean, occasionally he's had to put it into an eye of a giant scorpion, and but most of the time it just has bits of cheese left over from his.
Yeah.
So having two more knives in his belt isn't something that he needs.
Okay.
So he wants to see whether or not he can find a suitable buyer for them in Lindowe, and so that would be one type of seller, and the other type of seller would be the he also acquired from a pile of it was somebody else's stash, and it was a gold chain.
Yeah.
Gold is something that is very rarely.
I'm trying to remember where you found it from.
It was in one of the door. It was in the top. It was in the top top level of the church, and it was in one of the dormitory rooms, and it was piled up, and Gulliver had gone in and
within the temple of the
yes.
Chaos Mother. Yeah, okay then, because let me just find. So it was on the second floor, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Sleeping. Oh yes, yeah. There was 2 ceremonial knife and a golden chain there.
Yes.
Yeah. Did somebody take the lump of silver coins?
No, we left all
Okay
that.
then, yeah, cool.
So I mean, if possible, he wants to sell them. He will try to haggle to get the best price.
Okay
possible.
then. So, in order to, you were talking about this earlier on, weren't you?
Yeah, and page 56 of the rules. If you want to have a quick look at it.
You're haggling rather than bartering.
Yes.
Okay then. In the participants use insight rather than customs to gain an advantage in the negotiation. This is followed by a differential roll, influence or commerce against. Okay then, so we're probably. I presume you're selling it to a merchant.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay then. So the first roll that we do is not the outcome, isn't it?
No, it's just a person that's just determines who gains advantage.
I'm just trying to find that. So it works in the same way in bartering, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Bartering work. The character makes an offer of something. If it's the common commodity, the character is then, if less obvious, customs or relevant cultural. If successful, he has spotted a way of benefits not realised by the other. This changes the difficult grade of the influence or commerce. Okay then. So you're rolling what?
If you want, I mean, if I can do this next, I can just store them.
Yeah, I think store them because I need to get my head around those rules. I know how much they are worth.
Right. Yeah.
But I can.
So we could do that at the beginning of.
Yeah, that sounds a good idea.
And the other thing that he wants to do at that, he wants to look at the market, and he wants to find something that he can purchase, which at the moment is holding its value. He can't carry around 2,000 silver pieces. He's not that strong.
Yeah.
And he's got nowhere to store it. So what he's looking at actually doing is finding a commodity that he can actually buy,
Okay,
maybe
then.
a type of jewel
Okay,
that is
yeah.
maybe worth sort of like 50 to 100 silver pieces that he can buy a pouch load of those, if you see what I mean, and maybe have some hidden away.
So, Electric Messiah says, I'll hold those 2,000 silver pieces for you.
Yeah.
I'm just on the coffee. All right. Darth's on the coffee. Do you wish to sell the gold chain then? Because you seem to be selling it.
Well, the problem with the gold chain is that I mean he's not sure, but Gulliver thinks that it's worth a lot of money, purely because of what it's made out of, and it looked really, really good to him.
Okay.
It would be turning it into silver at a later date, and whether or not a merchant would have that type of money to buy it.
Okay. So
looking at selling it in a larger town like Lindowe, so that say for example he was in a small fishing.
Yeah. Did you make a commerce roll to get the rough price of the golden chain?
I saw it was gold. Took it.
Right. Okay then. So we need to work on that, but
Yeah.
also how much the silver knives are worth as well. So we can look at that and we can get that together. I'll have a think about that and then we can go back to it. Yeah, that's cool. Anything else that you wish to do?
No, that was basically.
Brilliant. So that's everybody sort of like brought up to date, isn't it? The skill points have been learnt. People are starting to take their characters off in different directions from each other and sort of like start to expand their repertoire of spells or skills or get closer and closer to that wonderful 100 mark. Just to remind you that even if you do have 100, a 99 or 100 is still a fumble. However, if you get a skill above 100, then 99 ceases to become a fumble. Okay, it's only 100 then that is actually a fumble. So as your skills get higher, and remember it is worth going over 100 because that increases your crit. That your crit will get higher and higher and higher. Remember that a roll of 1 or 1 to 5 I think it is always a crit no matter what. So there are those provisos in. So how long? I'm just thinking about months. You've learnt 2 sorcery spells, haven't you? Which will be a month each.
I think the longest downtime that you're going to be looking at, especially if Gulliver's leg can't be healed via magical means. It would be Gulliver's downtime for his healing. He was on minus. He has 4 hit points in his leg, and he was down at -4. His healing rate is only 2, so that would be 2 hit points per month.
Yeah. Well, I've got down here that I was thinking about 4 months.
Well, 4 months would be exactly
for
right.
Everybody. Okay. Then, so the first thing I think you need to do. And I think as Gulliver's leg's healing, he could do other things as well. So, for example, he might not be able to work in the library, but he can sit and talk to Maud or read books and things like that. So we're looking at 4 months. I did a quick calculation, and it's probably a little bit longer than this, but can you all increase your age by 1 year? Because I figured there's been at least a year that has gone by, at least. There might even be more, but I'm just aware that you all have an age, so it's really important that's...
I did increase mine at the end of the just before we started this last session.
I did the same thing.
Okay then, so it's if you didn't...
Hengist had a big birthday, by the way.
Oh, how old is Hengist now?
Hengist is now 30.
So how old is Gulliver? Because it said 18 on your sheet.
Yeah, so when Gulliver started, when he set off on from Linda to Odis,
yeah,
he was 17.
All right. Okay then. So so that's the first thing. The other thing that you need to do is calculate your lifestyle costs. So make sure that you have a look. I put a list up on the forums, so you can go. So if you don't have access to the actual rule book, you can go and look at that. It also sort of like gives you roughly an idea, unless and it's sort of like Hengist, you would be able to go up to a gentry if you so desired. And
But you can go less.
yes,
That's what I was
you
gonna
can
ask.
do, but that will dictate your social class. So if
Okay.
you're living as a freeman, then that limits your social class. You know,
Okay. That's
so
fine.
it would be completely
Um,
up to you where you want to go.
my
So it's
calculations.
been about 4 months. So the other thing that I'm quite happy for you to do in your own time is restock any equipment, deduct your money, etc., for your lifestyle costs, and get that all sorted. If you look on the lifestyle table, it gives you a rough indication of what your room status will be. So if you were a gentry, then yes, you're paying about 3,500 or 3,750 silver pieces a year, but you will have a house or an apartment. And Bartleby and Gulliver, you live at the order's accommodation, but it's completely up to you. You can, if you wish, have another accommodation. Do you know? So it's, don't feel that you're limited in any way. Now,
Yeah, I always take it that Gulliver has other expenses, because although he lives at in the Order of the Kraken, you know, he does go to the Hairy Hobgoblin a lot, and you know,
Yeah.
sort of speaks to Hengist and Hasra when Hasra is you know, back in town. So, and there's always cheese shops to sample.
yeah.
So he does have that other outgoing that he needs to. Probably not as much as the others, but
Okay, so that's absolutely fine. The other thing that I was, and it's just gone out of my head.
chicken.
Oh yes. Do remember that you can, if you wish, if you can justify it to me, and I say yes, you can increase your passions with skill points. That might be really important for Gulliver and Bartleby, because your passion relates to the knowledge of your order or your church. So feel free. Obviously, Hengist and Hasra, if you had to perfect lump hefting as one of your passions, then you would have to go back to Aylesford, which might be a long journey. Or,
Couldn't we introduce this sport in here?
well, probably not in Lindowe. So there's some other things that I'd just like to tie up about what actually happens in the 4 months that you are back at Lindowe, and things that you hear. The first thing, that you return the chalice to your patron and get paid, and that all goes according to plan. One thing you do notice about the chalice, that it has no liquid in it. When it was recovered, or when it was handed over, there was no liquid in it at all. You probably experimented a bit of like this on the way back, and you did find that if you poured normal water into it, after a while it became that cloudy milky fluid that you've seen before, and you obviously got rid of that the best you could without touching it. The other thing that you notice when you come back is Bartleby, you quite naturally go off to find Briar or Bria, and to see, you know, where she is, to gain an audience with her, and you're informed that she went missing shortly after you left Lindowe, so quite a way ago. She went missing. There was quite a search party sort of like set off around Lindowe, but there was no, she wasn't found at all. it was interesting that even the order, Gulliver's order, got involved to see whether or not she might have been teleported or transported outside, but there was no sign of any kind of disruption in the house or something like that. She went to bed one night, and then her manservant took her a drink in the morning, and she was not in the room at all. There's still rumours about where she is or where she's gone to, which is still out there to be rumoured about. You do hear in the 4 months about a story that comes back from one of the caravans, and the caravan sort of like talks about up to the north past Eubene Falls. There's stories of huge armies massing, and Count Bastion, you hear, was offered to send a cohort of guards. They seem to be battling some kind of undead or chaos beasts up there, although you think the rumours that you're hearing are quite exaggerated as they come down. However, the caravan people talk of the battles, or the group being led by what they call a young boy. From what you can gather, probably about 18, 19. He actually stands in some kind of armor that is it never tarnishes, it never gets damaged, it's always looking in pristine condition, and it seems to be able to block many blows. He seems to be leading this army up north, and is quite charismatic when he sort of like calls forth for assistance. He, as well as this wonderful armor, he also carries, or is rumored to carry, a huge two-handed hammer. And the other thing that you hear is that he also, when he takes his helmet off, he has a scar that runs across his skull. So that seems to be happening up north. The other thing that you do notice happens to you, Bartleby, because one night, one evening, you have what appears to be one of Amriel's dreams that comes to you, and it's rather than being a very pleasant dream, it seems to become almost like a nightmarish dream, and it's rather upsetting, since it actually the dream actually has Briar in it, and the dream that you have, this recurring dream over several nights that comes back again and again and again, is a dream that you actually see Briar actually being in the arms, in the clutches of quite a huge, almost like demonic being that actually decapitates her with a pull of both its claws. And you see it over and over again, and every evening, every night, you get a little bit further, and you eventually see that Briar is decapitated, and her silver torque falls off and just topples into some kind of black abyss, and you just see it going down, and followed almost like straight away by the two parts of Briar's body that seems to be just falling into this huge black abyss. And it's on the final night, you have these dreams about 7 nights, and on the final night when you actually see this, you wake up to find that the bracelet and the funeral mass that you've been lumbered with have both detached themselves from you. They are no longer attached, and you actually look at them with witch sight to find that none of them, they do not seem to contain any sort of magical power at all. And it's all this happens in the 4 months in between, and you're getting to the point that you really need to gain some employment. You've been around, you've used your roles up, you've really sort of like been able to sort of like live out the last 4 months. And when 4 months originally seemed such a nice time, a lot of you have just spilt my coffee. Just 1 second. A lot of you have sort of like learned new skills, or you've sort of like perfected old skills. But you're getting to that point that you sort of like think, I need to get back on the road and back on doing some kind of job. And it's at that point that just after you've all been down to the hairy hobgoblin and sat at your original table with Basil serving drinks as normal, and probably Bartleby and Gulliver, you've just finished a set. You've done a bit of playing, you sort of like gained a few silver coins, that you're now.
Gulliver's probably pushed the stuff to one side on the table, and what's left of the gravy on one of the plates, he's there showing Bartleby the latest runes that he's been taught. Sort of like almost like tracing them in the gravy, and then holding up the plate to Bartleby and saying, "Oh, can you tell what that one is?"
Yeah.
But as he does it, the gravy sort of like
almost like flashcards.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you sort of like showing them new runes, and you sort of like decide to use your silver coins as to sort of like sell, buy some drinks for everybody, and you're sort of like a lot more relaxed. Your memories of being in the temple of the Chaos Mother and seeing hideous beasts, that you all managed to make your willpower roll, and you sort of like you survived that. And Lindowe seems strangely normal, and as the 4 months go on, you almost like start to miss, or almost want again that allure of adventure, and you've forgotten about all the bad things that's happened, but you remember the fun parts almost of it, and the sense of adventure, the sense of jobs, and you just get into that point that you think, what's going to come.
Cabin fever will be sick, wouldn't it? It's
and it's at that point that on the evening, it's about 10 o'clock at night, and you notice somebody coming in to the bar and into the hairy hobgoblin and going up to the bar. And could you roll your insight rolls for me, please?
Critical success for Gulliver.
And Bartleby gets his first fumble.
I had a fumble last time too on that. It's one of my fumbles that I got just a moment ago.
Okay, so Gulliver, everybody sort of like sees these people, and Bartleby and Hengist and Hasra, you're sort of like looking at them, trying to place some as if you know this person. But Gulliver, you sort of like look at him, and he seems to be ill at ease. Gulliver, he seems to be as if he's trying to act something that he's not. He has a cloak with a hood on, and he sort of like puts the hood down, and he's just sort of like puts them down, and he sort of like you hear him up at the bar asking questions, and he seems to be using quite a low voice, quite threatening. But Gulliver, you sort of like see through this. You've been on the streets before, and he's almost like he's pretending,
putting on a good show. But
yeah, he's trying to be a ruffian, you know, and he's obviously not a ruffian. He's trying to impress people by how, you know, hard he is and things like that, and he's just
that's all like age is he?
Oh yes, he's in about his sort of like mid-30s, early 40s, but he you don't think he's grown up on the streets at all, and he sort of like talks to Basil, the tavern keeper, and then Basil sort of like thinks for a while, and then he sort of like points to you four over at the table, and he sort of like the guy sort of like comes over to you, and he's trying to move as if he's tough, but he's certainly not tough. And he sort of like comes over to you all, and he sort of like looks at you and says, I think you are good adventurers that people might be able to employ, hire, give money to for services. Yeah? Know what I'm saying? Yeah?
Gulliver sort of like look at him and say, Do I know you?
He sort of like looks a bit shocked, and almost like taken back.
We were just about to have another round. Would you like to take a seat and join us?
I'm here to hire people. I can sit for one, but I need to edge my seat so I can keep an eye out for any rough people who might be here to somewhat do me harm. Do me harm.
Oh,
That's why we have Hengist.
And he sort of like sits down.
Hengist raises his half-drunk tankard.
you don't normally find people like that in the hairy hobgoblin.
There are many.
Basil does keep a very good establishment.
I'm sure he does. Here is a fair. Yeah, he does. So, and he sort of like goes to slam his fist on the table, but you notice that as it goes down, he sort of like probably hurts his fist a little bit more, and you sort of goes, so, and sort of like cringes about a bit. He says, I have a job if you would like to take it.
Well, I mean, we're always interested in work, but I mean, before we could actually say that we would take it, I mean, we would need to know what it was.
Mr. Basil, barman, bring us all a drink. Same again. I'll buy it. Put it on my tab. But you all see Basil sort of go, you know, as if he's instantly recognised that this person is just.
Have we ever seen him in the hairy hobgoblin?
No,
before?
never. No, but you've never seen him at all. But he's definitely not blending in. You can hear various sniggers. You know, around. He's almost like mutton dressed as lamb.
Can I maybe look at making? I don't know whether or not commerce would be the correct.
It depends what information you're
I
trying to
want
get.
to see whether or not he's mutton dressed up as lamb, whether or not he's wearing.
So
more
your initial insight roll will tell you that he's obviously my role playing is not good enough, but he's obviously more.
It was more which way it was.
Well, he's more. You figure he's some kind of aristocrat, trying to be down with the ruffians of the tavern, and he sort of like brings over. He sort of like orders, and he gives you all the same as what you were eating, and he sort of like says, "I need you to do a bit of protection for me."
Please.
I only heard protection then, was it?
Hasra was speaking as well.
Yes. Yes. He sort of like leans forward and says,
Gulliver leaned forward as well.
"Do I tell you the job now or after I pay you?"
Oh. Well, it's normally custom to tell us the job, and then you tell us the price, and then we haggle a bit, and then you give us more.
Right, I see. So start off low, just
Gulliver's
in
going
case.
to kick Bartleby under the table. And then when he looks at it, he's just going to smile.
Okay. He says, "I'm responsible for a ship that's will be coming in tomorrow and will berth down at the old docks within Lindowe. However, I believe there will be a robbery on the evening that I would like you to prevent and find out who actually does it. For several reasons, I don't want to trust this matter to the City Watch and all the, shall I say, ship's crew, because I'm not too sure who is actually in with the robbery or actually against it. So what I would need you to do tomorrow night is watch the ship and try to catch the robbers red-handed, i.e. with the stolen goods, if anything occurs, of course. But there is a catch. I would like at least one robber," and he looks at Hengist and Hasra at the moment, at that point, "to be caught alive for questioning. No, I know this might be difficult. However, I am willing to pay in agreement with this. I will give you 500 silver pieces in total, providing nothing is actually stolen or you recover anything that is stolen. However, I will pay an extra 100 silver pieces for each robber captured alive, but nothing for the dead ones."
It does seem rather. What exactly are they going to be stealing? Is it big? Is it small?
I think I need to know that you are on board.
My friend, my question would be, if, for example, we are accosted by the City Watch after doing this, fighting these robbers, would we have any kind of livery or proof that we were doing this on your order?
He sort of like looks at you quite shocked and says, "No. I am hiring you. You are the people to be hired. I do not want anything returning to me, although I can meet you afterwards to catch up with the ruffians that you've caught and to take ownership of anything that is stolen.
I think what my friend was saying is that we would want to know that if anything should happen and the city watch were to say catch us preventing the robbery, that we would have some proof that we were working for the person that owned the vessel and that we were helping.
You require some form of documentation? A piece of paper?
No, I think Hasra was saying it.
Yes, I think that if when we're attacking the bandits or the robbers, that if we were stopped by the watch, how would we prove that we are helping you? And so yes, if you could give us some scribbled letter of saying we are working for you, we are employed by you. A contract as such. I mean, the Gulliver and Bartleby know what I'm talking about, I think.
He sort of like looks at you all and sort of says, I am sorry. I don't think the person I represent would want to be associated with such deaths if you're planning on killing people.
Well, of course, our plan would be to prevent the robbery, and without any loss of life.
The old docks are very rarely patrolled. The city guards do not go down to the old docks, especially through night time. You will be fine. You need no piece of paper.
Especially when we have the power of Amriel, who will show our innocence in all cases here.
So 500 silver pieces.
Yes, in total. And then an extra 100 silver pieces for each robber captured alive. But remember, you gain nothing for the dead ones.
So it's best to capture as many alive as we can, and then there won't be any issue with the city watch, because there wouldn't be any dead people anyway.
Exactly. So, this boy talks great sense, he says, looking at you, Hasra.
To be fair, Gulliver is a very intelligent person. I do bow to his wisdom.
The robbers will not be heavily armed. There might be 4, 5, 6 of them. I can't imagine them being any more.
Well, I think, I mean, of course we'll agree to do it. And Gulliver, if he can, he wants to try to make. I know he's made an insight roll to judge the character when he came in, but he wants to see how much of what the guy is saying.
Okay. Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the amount of people that we might be encountering.
Okay.
So insight roll. 27 standard.
Yeah, you don't think he's telling no lies. He seems to be giving you the knowledge that he thinks is true. Whether or not it's an actual, it is going to be true,
mm-hmm.
he doesn't know. he says, obviously there are some issues here. How much would you want?
Well, I mean, it is like a full night's work, and you are unsure of how many there's going to be, and there could be implications with the city watch. So, I mean, I think a reasonable price, especially seeing that there's four of us, would be 800 silver pieces as a figure for the actual job. Plus, of course, the bonus for the.
Okay.
And I would like to make an influence.
Yeah.
Well,
So you start. I think the best way to play this is that you start the discussion over the job. Does anybody wish to support Gulliver in his influence role? So remember, that would be a 20 of your current skill that he can add to his influence role. I see this happening in the sense that as he's saying things, other people might put in other things or agree or do counter arguments. So anybody who wishes to, I'm not saying just because you have an influence skill, because you've all got it, because it's a standard skill, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not saying because you've all got it, you can all help. You know, it might be that some of you.
Gulliver's mentioned the length of, because we could be there all night. He's also mentioned that there could be implications with the city watch. There's he's uncertain of how many guards that.
Yeah. So
how many attackers is there going to be, and he's gone in at 800 for that.
Yeah. So I just need to know if anybody is working alongside
Well,
Gulliver.
the only angle Hasra would do is a fish out of water in the city. The only angle Hasra would do would be through the night time, doing the watches and knowing how hard it is to maintain a good perception.
So is Hasra joining in the influence role?
He will for his.
Okay then. So I need 20% of your skill to be added to.
It's not one, is it? It's 5. Sorry.
What about anybody else?
I think Bartleby would actually stay out of it and just listen while consuming.
Okay, yeah, consuming whatever he's consuming. And what about Hengist?
Hengist probably would, and he'd be sort of like helping by saying, well, it could be, we don't know what the type of robbers they're going to be. They could be, common street thugs, or they could be employed mercenaries like us. So that could influence on.
Okay, then. So sort of like, so the discussion about money sort of like comes to a point, and Bartleby, you just sort of like sit back and think, no, this is not my area. I don't haggle and work things out. Hengist and Hasra, you sort of like start pitching in and sort of like suggesting things to support Gulliver. So Hengist.
So what have I got coming?
Yeah,
That's
Hengist.
4. Sorry, 4 for me.
4.
You've got 8 from Hengist.
So I've got an additional 12, which puts my roll up to a 73. This is the roll.
It's an easy roll, by the way. Yeah, so you sort of like all pitch in, and you're not too sure how much is actually convincing him, or actually almost like ganging up on him and having 3 against 1. And he seems to be quite flustered at points as you all sort of like start to dive in and use your influence skills on him. And in almost like a point of desperation, he sort of like says, right then. He says, I will pay you 1,000 silver pieces and 100 silver pieces for any robbers. So he's almost like doubled his original roll, the amount that he would give you, but hasn't done anything with the bodies, the number that get live. And you're happy with 1,000 silver pieces in total. He then sort of like almost like picks up some other items, and he sort of like says that you are to meet him tomorrow at dusk outside Hairy Hobgoblin, and he will take you down to the pier. Now, you just to sort of like remind you, this is the town of Lindowe that you can see now. And these, where I'm picking at the moment, these are where the big merchant ships come in, and a travelling ship. This area here is more the trade area. Okay, and that's where the old docks are going to be. If anybody remembers the history.
Sorry, where's the old docks? Sorry.
Just here.
I'm not seeing the ping.
I'm not seeing any pings.
Sorry,
I can't see things either.
I'm on the. See it now?
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. So if you remember, this was also the place that is a lot. It's very run down. It's very sort of like. It's probably not frequented by the guards after the sun goes down. In any case, if you remember, you live in Lindowe, and the gates are actually locked round the outside. If you remember, when you first arrived, you need to give permission to come into them. So it's also where the big plague started, if you remember, and wiped out a whole load of the loads of people. It's also where you went and found the temple of the sanctuary of the Templars was there as well. And he sort of like says to you, oh yes, we need to meet at dusk the next day. And just before he sort of like leaves, he says, oh sorry, I need you to assure me that you are not going to rob the ship, and you're going to behave loyally to me and the person I represent through the duration of your employment. I don't want you going off to the boat and just stealing a whole load of things.
You'll notice Hasra will tense up at this and look at him and say, I'm sorry, sir, but you do not question my honour. When I give my word, I give my word.
I require you all to swear an oath to me.
Ooh.
Would that be a problem?
Long as it's not a spooky, conjury type oath. Yes.
It is basically, I swear, throughout this employment, not to rob the ship of any goods, and to behave loyally to the patron throughout the duration of the employment. That seems quite acceptable.
And the duration of the employment does end at the dawn the next day.
The end of the employment will be when I will arrange for you to bring any of the goods that have been removed, and any of the the people alive that you have to a certain warehouse. I will show you this tomorrow. And then once it's been handed over, then your employment will be ceased and you will get your money.
I'm sorry, but you didn't actually get round to telling us what we were protecting on the ship. Is it a ship or is it a boat?
It's a boat.
A boat.
You can call it what you like. It's called, if you're interested, it is called the Herald, and it is bringing in spices and silks from exotic countries that my agent, my patron, my wealthy patron is responsible for. They are a respectable merchant, but we have seen several goods being removed since across many journeys into Lindowe. It should be simple to find them. Find the people who are doing it and bring them to me. Remember, 100 silver pieces for each one you bring alive. That could be an additional 600 silver pieces.
If there's 6 of them, yes.
He says, let me... Have you all swear the oath?
Gulliver has.
Hengist will do, yes.
Yeah.
Bartleby would do a slightly different oath, I suppose. Something like, I swear that I, Bartleby Fumus, will do what is right to prevent bloodshed, to prevent any injustices from happening to you or your patron.
Oh, what's your sword, Hengist? It's Bartleby's going to nick your sword, so you can't do any physical damage to it. Yeah, he's quite acceptable of that, and he sort of like turns round in the end, and he says, "You are good people, and Basil speaks highly of you, so I'm willing to give you some money up front." And he sort of like brings out a little belt pouch that he seems to have had ready already, and sort of like pulls it out and drops it on the table. And you see that there are inside there's about 50 silver pieces, and he says, for your, shall I say, non-alcoholic supplies if need be.
That's very, very kind of you. So, sorry, what shall I call you?
Oh, my name is Krytos.
That's very kind of you, Krytos. Thank you.
I put it in the chat for you.
I spelled it with a C.
That's why I put it in the chat for you.
Yeah, so I can just put a line down. That C becomes a K.
I don't think there's anything else, right? Is there anything else anybody else needs to ask?
Do you hear that?
Yes.
Please tell me that was Pickle's cat.
No, it was. I've just gained a YouTube subscriber.
Oh.
When I get a YouTube subscriber, it goes.
Does it do it at night?
Say again, sorry.
Does it do it at night, or do you turn it off?
No, it's like it's connected to the same power as the
Right.
computer, so it does goes off when and it only does it for YouTube, and it doesn't do it when I lose one. When I lose one, it goes ha ha ha. So yeah, anything else you would like to know from Krytos?
Nothing that Gulliver needs.
No, Hengist is quite happy, and we're meeting him outside the Hairy Hobgoblin tomorrow at dusk. That's fine for him. And everything else is shown.
So you will have the next day.
I did want to do something as he leaves.
Oh yeah.
So as he gets up, as he goes to the door, Gulliver's going to say to Bartleby, he's going to say, Bartleby, talk to me as if I'm there. And I want to try out my project sight.
Oh yeah.
spell. So basically, once he said that, Gulliver closes his eyes, and when he reopens them, they're all sort of like watered over. So it just looks like liquid rather than his eyeballs. And so he's going to cast a spell. So the spell that he's doing, it's a very long.
It's what, sorry?
As I've just put it in the thing, but the
War and Peace.
the description is absolutely.
I know. I'm just getting it from the. Okay, then. So the project allows the recipient to send one of their senses beyond their body in the form of astral projections. This is what you're doing, isn't it?
Yeah.
This discorporate receptor is both invisible and intangible, permitting it to travel anywhere with no chance of observation, save for those with magical perception. each individual project spells relates to a specific sense, which is not necessarily limited to human perceptions. Yeah. Okay.
Which is where it comes in for the
Yeah. It's also several of these. Yeah. Okay. Wherever the was one of the. Okay then. So yeah. So first of all, you need to roll. You don't need to say the intensity. Tell me what you want to find out. That'll be the easiest.
Okay, so I basically want to follow the guy and see where he goes, to see whether or not he just gets into a carriage outside, to see whether or not he heads up to the posher area.
Okay, then. Yeah.
To see whether or not he heads down to the docks. I basically put the majority of my points of shaping into the range. So I have a range of 7,500 meters, or a duration of 15 minutes. So that those are the things that I can follow.
Yeah. So it'd be whichever one happens first.
Yeah, but okay. I'm interested where he actually. Yeah.
So you can keep it going for 15 minutes. Did you say?
Yes, 15 minutes or 7,500 meters.
Yeah, whichever goes quicker. So yeah, let's roll some invocation then. Yeah, so you sort of like project yourself, and the people at the table see this watery milkiness go over Gulliver's eyes, and
I'm hoping that because where he is, as in where he was at the bar, so he's not facing he's got his back to the rest of the tap room, and with Bartleby engaging him in a very one-way conversation at the moment, sort of like Bartleby's talking about things for 10 minutes, which I think he should role play out.
I've got things I need to say to go over.
Oh. So you project your sight outside, or project yourself so you can see outside. And there's two things that you notice. The first thing that you notice is that once he gets outside, there are what appears to be two hefty looking people. You instantly recognize them as some kind of bodyguard or some kind of protector or protectors of the guy. He sort of like comes out, and they don't engage with him in conversation or anything. They just seem to fall into step behind him.
Are they wearing any type of uniform that might give me an indication?
No, they're wearing similar capes and hoods as the Krytos is wearing, and they obviously don't want people to know who they are at this point. You don't think they are, well, you're not too sure why they're wearing it, but they're not being stealthily secret. It looks more like they're just trying to cover up. You do follow them in and out of the streets as they head up to the hill, which, if you remember, is the sort of like it says number 2. I'm just picking
Posh district.
Yeah, and they sort of like go through the town square and then sort of like go up to the hill. And one thing that you do notice, and it's probably you probably lose track of them, or 15 minutes comes up just as they're going up on the hill, because they don't go straight there. They sort of like wind their way in and out of various streets.
Can I make a streetwise roll to see whether or not they're purposely trying to look like they're not being followed?
Yeah. I need to decide what skills you can actually use when you project yourself. That's what I need to think about.
Okay. Well, so this one, it will be anything that involves sight.
Yeah. So.
I got an 89 out of 40.
Yeah. Are you keeping it?
Yes, I'm keeping that. Yeah.
Yeah. They sort of like weave in and out, and they take quite a long way round, and you sort of like lose track of them. or your spell cancels just as they go up onto the hill. You do notice, however, that once they sort of like get to, I'm just pinging the map, to about here, they start walking a little bit more casually, as if they're in familiar territory at that point. And they seem a lot more relaxed.
Okay, so I mean, once the spell has elapsed, be it through range or time, you see Gulliver's eyes. They close, and when they reopen, he'll be his eyes will be back to normal.
Okay, so that brings us up to 10 o'clock. So it seems to be a good place to finish for this week. We've done a lot of experience rolls. We've got a lot of those done and dusted, which is good. I know I got a few things to follow up, but please, if you need me to follow up anything else, just send it to a direct message to me on Discord, and I will look into that. We will start the next session with, remember, you've got literally a day before it, so we'll go on to what you wish to do during that day before dusk.
There will be something that I still wanted to do in the tavern now. So if we
what is that?
I wanted to. It seemed that the Basil knew the guy, so I wanted to talk to Basil. So almost going along the lines that the gentleman that was just with us had left his money pouch on the table, and we wanted to return it. We got his name as Crichton, but we didn't know where to return it to. Could he help?
Okay, so Basil doesn't know Krytos at all. It's not somebody he sort of like says he's never seen him in this area of the town before. He sort of like probably acknowledged that he realized things were not, that he was almost like play acting. And he does, I mean, you know Basil, and Basil knows you four, and he sort of like says that he just sort of like came in and asked for, did Basil know anybody to do a job for them? And Basil sort of like apologizes and says, oh, I'm sure, what was it the right thing to do, kind sirs, to point to me that I do hope there's not been any disruption. But no, he's not, he hasn't seen the person.
That's fine.
Before.
That's fine.
Yeah.
No problem. Yeah, that was all I wanted to do.
Okay, brilliant. So so we can start the next session then. So we'll imagine that it's the day that you've been asleep, and you've got the rest of the day to get any gear or anything that you wish to do, any investigations that you need to do before meeting Krytos for the dusk meeting outside the hairy hobgoblin, who will then take you to where you need to be. Excellent. So before we finish for tonight, does anybody have any announcements or anything like that?
I do not.
Not today.
Yep.
I would just say that if you would like to see the interview with Bartleby, Mr. Pickles, talking.
Can I just say it was really enjoyable, and I learned a lot.
Do you know, I got a message from one of the comments. You need to read the comments, Bartleby. Somebody put a comment up that was really nice.
Will do.
It says, "Great listening to you guys." And then somebody else put, "It's nice to get this peek behind the curtains and hear how Mr. Pickles frames Bartleby and his perspective as a player. Thanks." Isn't that nice?
You need to come to a podcast.
No, don't. Well, the Mythras podcast is available, but we've Mr. Pickles, you need to reply to my email.
Oh, yes. We'll check that.
I sent it because Mr. Pickles and myself are having an interview with the people who made Hasra's Treasure.
Oh, right.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The actual person to do that. So we're going to have, without any spoilers, we're going to have a discussion about it for not the next one, not August's podcast, but for September's podcast. So yeah, so brilliant. So do go and have a look at that. And it's sorcery next. Well, everybody wants me to do animism because
We don't have a player that does.
I know.
No.
And do you know it's the most confused system
No.
ever. It's just unbelievably difficult. Anyway.
So we just have inwils, and then we have inwils playing Lady Miko.
Yeah. Well, they want me to do a rules video about it, and so I can
It's
do.
a bit stupid because you can't do anything at first level when you first start.
Well, it's because of the power of the spirits, because you can get spirits to support things with skill rolls, but because of your binding and you can't have massive spirits, So, but I need to reread the rules and sort of like unpick it. But there's lots of people keep saying, "Will you do it? Will you talk about being an animist?" And I think it's the most underplayed magic area, but at the same time I really like it.
I was
I was
going
going to say, I
favourites.
read lines I missed because that's the way I wanted to take through the Brotherhood, but
It's a really nice I like the idea of haunts and spirits and fetishes and things like that, but at the same time I'm not too sure whether or not you need a whole I don't want to create a campaign world that omits certain schools of magic, because I think all schools of magic can exist. Well, Mythic Britain has a lot more animists in it than
it's shamanistic, isn't it?
yeah, and things like the druids are basically animists. The only school of magic that I've restricted is mysticism with the mystics, because to me that is so powerful.
OP.
It's over there.
Yeah, so and that, but rather than saying no, you can't play them, I've sort of like put it into the campaign world, and so they're still there but very restricted. So that's it. So yeah, so next week we'll start on the adventure. You don't get any skill points for this part of the adventure because nothing's happened, but at the end of the next adventure you will get 2 experience points, or 3 if you
I
manage
wrote my name.
No, it doesn't.
Spelt it right as well.
Yeah. Okay then. So yeah, thanks for coming along, everybody in the chat. I really do appreciate your support. And we will see you all next Saturday for Mythras, if everybody can make it. I will be streaming tomorrow at 2 o'clock BST time for some more Elder Scrolls Online. I'm going to finish the Elsewhere quest line and get that finished and done with my little tank. Okay then, so I will see you all later. Okay, thanks for coming by, and I will see you all later. So bye-bye.
Bye.
This video is sponsored by the Design Mechanism, the makers of Mythras. Mythras is a registered trademark of the Design Mechanism Inc., used with permission. All rights reserved.